All right. Good morning. Good afternoon for anybody on the East Coast. And we welcome you to our first Haven workshop of 2023. I'm your host, Ron Graham, and my more than able co-host, Victoria Hillard. We're going to be delivering this workshop today, turning resolutions into realities. So welcome. And Victoria?
Yes, welcome everybody. It's so exciting because it is the new year, fresh starts for everybody. So just thank you all for attending and coming here with us. And we're hoping to inspire some new trends for you to set those goals and turn those New Year's resolutions into goals.
So we are talking about turning resolutions into realities, but before we do, just want to take care of a few Zoom items here. We do ask everyone to stay muted. If you have questions, we want this to be interactive, but don't just interrupt the speaker. Please raise your hand and we will call upon you when we pause. We've worked hard to try to put together a good presentation, and some of this will be needing to flow a little bit. So when we take a pause, we will get to your questions. So be patient. Raise your hand. We will get you, or you can put your question in the chat. So we look forward to working on this with you and building our goals. And this is 2023. We've been using Zoom for a while. I hope everybody knows how to use Zoom to raise your hand and to mute and unmute your microphone. You know your device, whether it's a computer or a phone, an iPad, you know what you've got better than we do. So, Victoria, anything you'd like to add to that before we move on?
No, I think you covered everything. And for the computers, to mute and unmute would be Alt-A. And I think that's just, we want to make sure we cover that. And then to raise your hand is Alt-Y on the computer. And then of course on the phones, they're on the bottom. On the iPhones, I'm not sure about the Google form, but the Google phones, but on iPhones, bottom right corner, so mute and unmute. So, and just wanted to explore that a little bit, but I think that's it, Ron. You covered everything.
All right. Well, whenever I think of goal setting, a song pops up in my head. And if YouTube wasn't going to gig us, because we will post this on YouTube, if YouTube wasn't going to gig us, I would cue up Diana Ross's song, "Do You Know Where You're Going To?" And that's what goal setting is really about, is setting a goal and working towards that goal. And we want to, we all face daily goals. We face long-term goals. We take short-term goals to get there, and we'll talk about all of this. But ultimately, do you know where you're going to? And I'm not going to sing it because Dan Ross sang that, and I don't even compare it. I'm not great at karaoke. But do you like the things that life is showing you? Because if you don't like what life is showing you, you can set new goals. You can work towards something new. And that's what we hope to help instill some confidence, because you probably all know about setting goals and all that. So what qualifies Victoria and myself to talk to you about this, besides we like to talk about goal setting and we like doing Zoom workshops? Victoria, I'm going to let you take the first part here. Tell them what qualifies Victoria Hillard to talk about this.
All right. Well, goal setting, it's something that I truly believe in, number one. But to even back that up, I have done personal and professional development coaching for the past almost nearly 20 years. 15 was kind of open to everybody as far as in the sighted and world. But the past 5 years, I have worked specifically with blind and visually impaired individuals. assisting them in coaching a development plan, an action plan, effective action plans to set their goals, reach their goals, and help them stay accountable for their goals. So I've done that for quite some time. In addition to all of the goals I have set for myself on personal and professional levels and have achieved. So I think that my professional background, in addition with my personal background, can, pretty much can qualify me to be able to speak very effectively on this topic. And Ron?
Well, I was going to say, I'm a fan of Victoria's, and I know her backstory. I know the personal goals that she's had to set for herself to be where she's at today. The not only, immediate goals that she had to deal with in life, but she had to constantly update and change. And because when you meet a goal, what do you do next? And
Right.
we'll be talking about that because we're always in a state of motion.
Right.
Life goes on. Obla di, obla da, right?
And you're throwing curveballs, you're throwing stuff, wrenches, curveballs, whatever is thrown in there that was not part of any form of plan whatsoever. And so you really have to be prepared to be able to adapt those set goals because, nothing runs as smoothly as we want it to 100% of the time. So definitely.
There's an old saying, man plans, God laughs.
God laughs, ha ha ha, yes.
Yeah, we may not think it's funny, but so when that happens, what do you do? And we'll be talking about this. And myself, I know a little bit about goal setting through my own personal experience. In my previous life before I became blind, I had to set personal goals to achieve professionally, and I'll talk about that a little bit. But after I became blind, I had to figure out, well, look, gee, dude, you just got knocked on your rear end, and where do you know where you're going to? When life didn't come knocking at my door, I had to figure out I had to get out of my house, get off my rear end, and go out and pursue life. But I had to know which way to go because if you take the wrong turn, you're going somewhere you never planned on because you didn't plan on it. So that's what goal setting is, figuring out where you're going and how you're going to get there. I've also earned my bachelor's in behavior psychology and my master's in clinical psychology. Goal setting is such a fundamental part of this. And we also have a door prize donated today that's going to go with the HAVIN regular door prize of a $25 gift card. We have 4 coaching sessions donated by Positive Persistence for counseling or life coaching. It's not counseling, it's coaching sessions.
Right. Yeah.
And we appreciate Chris Schiaffoni and Positive Persistence for donating this. So, anything else before we start, Victoria? Anything you want to add before we just jump into this?
I think we are ready and good to go. I think that if individually and as far as a group, we have our website that people can visit if they want to learn more details. And as always, they can contact us and reach out to us with specific questions on either one of us. So we will definitely love to hear from all of our attendees today, and as well as those that are listening that may not be here today. So thank you all again. And I'm ready to jump into it, Ron.
All right. And so keep in mind, this is being recorded. So, if you missed something, we will get it posted on our YouTube channel. You can always come back and review this. So I'd like to start, Lewis Carroll, Alice in Wonderland. There's a lot of lessons in there that are life lessons. And one of the key ones I always remember, and I'm paraphrasing, that if you don't know where you're going, then how you get there doesn't really matter.
Mm.
And,
Mm.
And what it comes down to this, goal setting is a progression of steps. And think about that word, progression. The root word is progress. If you're making progress, you're taking those steps, you're working towards your goal. It's a progression of steps. We always we always want to move forward. We want to make that progression and work towards our goal. And but before I became blind, I was a captain with the state prison system, and I'm going to share a little story just because it fits. And there were 2 captain's jobs at this new unit I went to, and I interviewed for both of those, the disciplinary captain and the building captain, and I came in first on both those jobs. And the regional director told me on Friday evening, I want to see you in my office Monday morning at 9 a.m. I want to talk to you about this. And first he congratulated me and told me I came in first on both boards, and that felt good. And, he asked me which one of those jobs I preferred, and he was really leaving it up to me. He shared his thoughts, and he said, the choice is yours. But then he says, Cap, what's your short-term goals? What's your long-term goals? And all I knew is by the time I retire, I want to be warden. And I didn't know if I want to retire after 20 years or 30 years, but that was, he says, well, what's your short-term goals? And I had no idea. I was fumbling for words, and, and he made me think about it. And he says, he told me something then, this was 30 years ago. The man said, without a date, a goal is just a dream. And I just thought that was so profound, because he explained it like this. Look, you set a goal, give yourself a date to achieve that goal, and you start working towards that goal. And you figure out the steps it's going to take to get you there. Your short-term goals are, more readily achievable in a shorter amount of time, working for the ultimate goal, your long-term goal. And he says, if you need to, once you set the date and you've got your goal set, and something happens, and this is when God laughs, and things you didn't plan on, you have to adapt, you have to overcome obstacles and adversities. You can always change that date. You're still working towards that goal. There's that progression. You're still making progress to your goal. So we're all going to face adversities. We're all going to face challenges when we work towards our goals. And if you don't, you're blessed, you're lucky, however you want to call it. You're the fortunate one, but it's rare. And, think about a college degree, or, even in high school. You start high school as this young, wide-eyed fish freshman, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, look, those seniors, they look so old. And you're going to be there in 4 years, but you've got to plug in every grading period, every 9 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever it is. And each one of those is a short-term goal, because you have to pass those to build upon that to get to where you're going. Even in college, every semester, you've got your core classes. You've got to pass those. If you don't pass, you're going to repeat. And that's one of those adversities. That's one of those challenges when God's laughing at you, like, well, not what I planned to do. I planned to come in, get my 2-year degree in 2 years. Well, if it takes you 3 years, remember, you can adjust that timeline. You can adjust that goal, the date that you want to achieve that goal. You're still working towards that goal. And that's the whole thing. Don't lose sight of your goal. Keep working towards that goal.
Right. Ron, that just reminds me, I don't think people realize, and I know I never did, because a goal, we prepare and we plan for so many things. We put on an event, we plan for it.
Mhm.
We take a vacation, we prepare, we plan for it. But we never look at it, are we planning and preparing for our life? Okay.
Mhm.
And to me, that is what goals can help do. It's almost like you're preparing for your life. You're setting those goals so that you can plan for your life and what you want, the outcomes you want out of it. And again, they're not always going to be 100% smooth and easy, but I think just having a plan for anything, it's, the possibilities for success are even that much greater. And I don't think people realize the value of planning for our lives.
Yeah. And, and, you know, life is a whole series of goal setting. Yeah.
Hmm.
Sometimes we don't even think about it. We just do it. And
Right.
you just look back, you know, every day we have goals we have to meet to get out the door, to get up and go do something. Because if you're not prepared, you didn't meet your goals. You show up for the doctor's appointment without getting out of your pajamas, without showering, without eating breakfast. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
you're gonna know it. Everybody else is gonna know it. Those are just very short-term
Very sure.
goals.
Yeah. Yeah. That we
You're
set and achieve daily. Every day we
yeah.
set and achieve goals. So yeah, you're right.
Your end goal there was to get to the doctor's office, but if you didn't meet those short-term goals, you failed to plan.
Hmm.
And and so much of goal setting, that's what this is it's about planning. Plan
Right.
plan how you're going to get there. Um, I always like to think of long-term goal setting as basically like your GPS.
Mm.
I may not know exactly where what I have to do to what the turns I have to take to get there, but if I know I want to go up to, oh, say, um, there's a Gaylord Texan. It's a nice resort up in Grapevine, Texas. I don't know exactly where that's at. I know it's between Dallas and Fort Worth. I'm down here in Houston, but I can tell my GPS directions to Gaylord Texan Resort, and it will uh, give me directions. And every leg of that journey is going to be a short-term goal that I'm reaching to work towards that long-term goal. And um, this comes into planning how you're going to get there. Your GPS is helping you plan this, but if you don't
Mm.
have GPS, what do you do?
Right. Mm.
You know, um, you know, think about a career in a business, and you want to be the manager of that business. Well, most often you're not going to start out as the manager of the business. And I don't care if it's at the head of an HR firm or if it's simply working at McDonald's. Most people don't start out as the manager. You start out as the entry level employee. You get your
Hmm.
time, you get your experience, and it's just like working on that GPS. You get down the road a ways, and then you get yourself prepared for the next leg of the journey. And say you're at the HR firm, you may become a department head. You with time and experience, another leg of that journey, you put in, you pay your dues of getting there, just like getting down the road. You're working forward, you're progressing towards your goal, you're still continuing, you're putting in your time, you're getting the experience. Hey, guess what? You're now the assistant manager. The manager talks to you directly, but that job's still the one you want. So you still have to put in more time, get more experience, and get prepared. And that's all in planning. And you're still working towards your goal of being that manager. But, you know, that's all ideal settings, though. And, that manager goal, that's still your long term goal. That's still your end destination.
Right. Yep.
But, besides having something to work toward, think about this. It doesn't have to be a perfect final goal. You just need something to work towards and to move in a positive direction. And again, I'm going to go back to that word, to make progress, because progress is what life is about. It's moving forward. Just to start, like I was talking about, after I became blind, I found myself on my own. I had to let go of everything I knew. I was starting all over. I knew I wanted my life back. I didn't know which direction that was going to take. I had to figure out which direction I wanted to go, because if I went out the door and went the wrong way, I wasn't going to end up where I am today.
Right, right. And even taking into consideration the monkey wrenches and the, what is it, lemons that are thrown your way and all
Yeah.
that stuff. And you have to plan and prepare. And goals are not etched in stone. You're not writing them down where they cannot be removed. They're very much changeable. They're very much can be altered to match that path or that direction that has been taken. It's just important to continue to update that goal if it needs updating, because if your goal is to, swim across the lake, which, just random, but the lake freezes, you can no longer, that you have to find a different way to get to the other side of the lake. So that goal might need to be altered a little bit. So just different things that can happen. We definitely need to be prepared for changes and know that goals can be altered. So,
I mean, I'm going to use a personal experience of mine again to illustrate that things happen. When I became blind, I figured out, okay, we live in Texas. One of the best benefits we have as blind Texans is the tuition waiver at colleges and state colleges and universities. And I said, okay, I had 25 hours towards my towards my associates in criminal justice. And I said, that's a goal. I wanted to get out and do something. That was my first goal. Go get your associate's degree. What's it going to take for me to get there? I had to figure out how I was going to take notes, how I was going to read books, how I was going to get to class, how I was going to get around. I had basic O&M skills. My cane skills stunk though, but I knew I wanted to get a guide dog, and I said, before I start college, I would go get a guide dog. And I applied to the Seeing Eye, and I was approved. I went there. I got there on Saturday, the 4th of January, 1995, and I was excited. And our first solo walk with our dog was on Friday the 13th, and yesterday was Friday, January 13th. It was the anniversary, and that just made me think about this. I wrote about it yesterday on Facebook that, I had my goal. I was going to go up there, get my dog, and I was going to come back, and I was going to start school in the fall, and didn't know what that was going to entail, but I said I needed my guide dog first. And well, here comes God laughing at me, because it was cold Morristown morning, and there was still ice patches on the sidewalk. I slipped on the ice. I aggravated my torn ligament, and I left the Seeing Eye without my guide dog. I came home in a wheelchair with my pride broken, and I'm like, okay, you got to regroup. You didn't get your dog. I had my focus changed. My immediate goal changed. It had to. And this is what it's about, is figuring out what your priority has to be. Because my goal was still to get to school, but instead of working on getting that dog, I had to work on me.
Right.
And
right.
When these things happen, you have to be able to be flexible and adapt to your changing situations.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I had to rehab my leg. The doctor in Morristown said you need surgery. Then there's about an 8-month recovery period, and I was in tears. He was not telling me what I wanted to hear. I got home. My doctor there, he looked at it. He says surgery would be my last option. So,
right.
He gave me a very intense physical rehab schedule, and thankfully I was able to do that. I did go back to class on April 1st. I did get my dog, same dog, got matched with
Mm-hmm.
him again. And end of April, I was home with my dog. I was still able to regroup and start my class, but that short-term goal took some readjusting because things happen and life happens. You're going to get sick, or you're going to have to miss something because something happened, an event you didn't plan for. And
That
that's where
is true.
we all have to be
Yes.
adaptable.
And also, Ron, too, I think the sizes of goals people, don't realize they don't. I had small goals, and the smaller goals. I had a goal to be a more independent blind woman, and I've always said I was independent, but and we'll talk about this later, and I have a whole message for this, but how do you be a more independent blind woman? So my goal was to be an independent blind woman, and I said that forever. I would say that every day, every month, every week, but I was not doing anything to become independent. So I had to set those small little goals. I mean, and it started, my goal one time was to walk to the mailbox by myself, which that even took forever. And I think fear plays a big factor on us achieving our goals as well. And I think that we need to understand that fear is there. There is fear in many things that most things we do really, but the goals that we set, we need to look at the bigger pictures for those goals and understand the fears versus what you're going to get from the accomplishment of that goal. And also bringing to that why purpose, Ron, that I know you're going to touch on as well. But, just any size goal, they're small, but they still feel good when you achieve them.
I'm smiling because
Mhm,
I know exactly what you're talking about, that fear. And,
mhm,
if someone had asked, even today, someone asked me, what's your fear? And my biggest fear is the unknown.
mm,
I mean,
absolutely.
I like to control as much as I can. I'm not a control freak. I don't go overboard, but
Mhm,
though, when you're blind, a lot of control is taken away from you on different things. You have to accept other people's schedules. You have
mhm,
to accommodate your schedule to fit the transportation schedule that you can get. Um, you know, you have to work on things that you don't have control over. So I always encourage people, control what you can. If the remote keeps getting moved, take control of it and say, look, it needs to be here. When I look for it, I need to be able to find it. Control
right.
your environment. And you know but that fear of the unknown, because you know gosh, something small like that is, just finding the remote is a small thing. Fear has nothing to do with it, but it works like it feeds into helplessness, and you think you're
Mhm,
helpless and you're not. Don't
mhm,
think you're helpless. You can work
absolutely.
towards these goals. You have to address your fears, because I know when I became blind, man, I was scared. It was I have faced off with convicts with knives. I faced
Mm,
off with people
right.
with guns, and I've never felt as scared as when I became blind. Those fears didn't compare to what I felt when I became blind. I wanted to crawl under the covers and stay there and never come out. But
Mhm,
if you do that, life passes you by. You have to get
mhm,
up, you have to face your fears. And goal setting is the same thing. If it's something new, if it's something you've not done, you've got fear. It's just standing there in your way. It's a wall you have to break through. You have to confront your fears. You have to deal with that. Don't let that get in your way. And like I say, my cane skills, they were terrible. And if I had to rely on my cane skills when I started college, that probably would have been a slow, slow process, because I didn't move around with the confidence that I did with my guide dog. And You know, that everyone has to find what works best for them, and that's what worked best for me. And I always encourage people, find the way that works best for you. You know, when I went to Chris Cole at the rehab center in Austin, they showed me 5 different ways to label canned goods in the pantry. And I want to be the perfect blind person. I said, well, which way is the right way? He said, which one works best for you?
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what it is.
And when you're setting your goals, you have to find which way works best for you. It doesn't matter what Ron or Victoria think about it. You are the one who needs to work towards your goals, because who's going to be affected by this? You.
And Ron, one thing I wanted to tell you brought up, and I just have to speak, sighted fears as a sighted person are completely different fears of a blind person. And knowing, just coming from both, the fears that we have as BVI individuals, they don't even, they're so different on a different level. I think non-visual, just think about the fears that you can see, you know, because there's so many of those out there. Even you at the prison, you can see those inmates look scary and they're coming at you with knives or guns or whatever, you know, they may have. But the fears of a unsighted person are completely different. And I say that to say the fears that we have in our day-to-day and our goal setting and all that, they're completely understandable. I just, you know, I think that we, you know, minimalize the effect that these fears can have on us. And I don't want to come off as we're doing that, because those are big deals. Our fears are big deals, but we just have to overcome those fears and find ways to do so. So I just wanted to share that. No, Ron, it popped up in my head when you said that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, isn't he telling the truth?
I wholeheartedly agree, but you know that this goes back to what I was saying. You know, my fear is still of the unknown. But when you're blind and you can't see the environment around you,
everything's
it's all
unknown.
That's
yes.
right. So
everything's unknown.
You can't let that cripple you and paralyze you where you just stay under the covers.
Right.
And you know, when you're goal setting, you know, it's finding out what it's going to take to get you there. How are you going to get there? You know, and preparation. You know, just what I was talking about before I started college. I had to figure out, well, if you're going to go to class, you still have to take notes. You still have to go to class. You still have to read the book, and you still have to write the papers. How are you going to do that? Because all that factors into your short-term goal. Your first semester of class, you have classes. You're going to have to do all of that. So when you plan your long-term goal, you figure out your short-term goals, and you figure out what you're going to need to prepare to get there. And don't ask why. Michael McCullough just popped into mind because it was just a couple of years ago, he went and climbed Machu Picchu in Peru. And I can't imagine the planning and preparation. That was his long-term goal, but what did it take for him to be able to do that? Those of you who know Michael, he's a founder of iBug today, and you know, he's active in the Houston blindness community. And to go out and climb this historic landmark, you know, it's a rigorous task on anyone who is sighted and you know, full. I don't know the right term to say that doesn't have any disability at all to go out there and do that. And you know what it took, because you have to be in good shape to get out there and do it.
Absolutely.
And, you know,
you definitely cannot just wake up and go climb a mountain. I tell you that. So there's definitely planning in that.
Well,
has to
and
be.
I can't imagine the fear that has to creep
Absolutely.
in. You're out there on these rocky peaks, and you know, if you take one misstep, guess what? You could wind up, well, dead. That's not the result you want. So, you know, I just, you know, like I say, we all have goals. We all work towards our goals, but it comes down to the planning and preparation. And
Right.
That's what I really want to emphasize is, do that, plan, prepare, and, how are you going to get there? The short-term goals, you're going to accomplish those, and you have to measure.
Yeah.
That's the next
We,
thing I want to talk about. You have to
right,
have a
we
way
have,
to measure your progress.
we do have great tips as well coming up
Yeah.
for that as well too. Yes,
that,
definitely.
there was a song in the early 80s called Minutes to Memories by John Cougar. And John Cougar Mellencamp, he changed his name a few times, but I always liked the song, but you turn minutes into memories, and I thought about that when we were preparing, and here we go, preparing and planning for this workshop, and I thought about this song because you turn minutes into memories. The minutes you spend preparing are the memories that you're going to keep, that you're going to remember how you planned, how you prepared. But then you turn those memories into milestones. And what are milestones? Milestones are those markers along the highway. What do? They mark your progress. Have some measurable way to mark your progress towards your goal. It's easy when you have something that's fixed, like a college degree. You have these classes you have to take. You set your goal. You're going to get this degree. You're going to get it by this day. Well, every semester you're going to take 3 or 4 classes, sometimes 5 classes if you're an overachiever, and you're going to get that chunk. There's a milestone every semester you mark with the hours you've earned. But not everything is so concrete. You have to find some way to measure what you're working towards.
Right.
Measure your progress in that progression.
All right. Absolutely.
I listen to audiobooks. I read 3 or 4 books a week, and I can always hit the number 5 key on my Victor Stream, and it tells me 58%. I know where I'm at in that book. I can check the hours and compare the hours total and the hours I've read and the hours I've got left. I can always do that on there. That's easy. But life is not always easy when you've got a goal of something that's not so concrete.
Absolutely.
How are y'all doing this morning?
We're good. Is that Allison?
Yes, it sure is.
Yes.
Hey, Allison.
Hi.
Yes. Hello. Okay. Well, welcome, Allison. Thank you for joining us. And
Sure.
so, Ron, did you want? So, are we? I guess we can go on and continue with the goal setting, the actual layouts that we have, the methods that we have. Did you want to? Did you cover all your points? I just wanted to make sure that we got your good points out before we get into our actual workshop end of it. I love the discussion. If we wanted to ask for input, if anybody wanted to add something to the conversation.
Well, I do want to add a couple of things, and if there's any discussion before, I'm going to let you run with the meat of this, because I think you've got some really awesome points to share here. But we all do goal setting every day, and think, if you don't think you do goal setting, you better back up and regroup, because getting out of bed, getting breakfast, getting showered, getting dressed, those are some of the most short-term goals you can do every day. Like I say, if you don't think they are, you show up at that doctor's office without having done any of that. You got serious bedhead, you've got your jammies on, and
funky.
People are going to be looking at you. Yeah, you got that funky breath because you didn't brush those teeth.
Right.
But give yourself a goal. Give yourself a short-term, a simple goal every day. Make your bed. There was a general who wrote a book. He gave a commencement speech at a university, And he said, start out every day by making your bed. That way, if nothing else happens that day, you've accomplished one simple goal. You can always build on that. You can work on other goals. Give yourself success to build on, and nothing succeeds like success. You know, when you accomplish something, celebrate it. Move on. I don't mean like go make your bed and say, hey, I made my bed, I'm having a party now. But do recognize yourself for achieving your goals.
Ron,
Because
what about the wording of it? Because you keep saying these goals, and what if, because making our bed, some of us consider that a chore, right? So if we change that chore into the word goal, I mean, I think there could be some more motivation to accomplish it if we change that word to goal, because I'd rather meet my goals, all these little goals every day, every hour, versus doing chores and doing things I don't want to do. So I just want to, speak on that, because you said make your bed, and even the day, if I'm making my bed, well, that's not a goal, that's a chore. But no, you're right, it can be a goal.
You just made me think of my dad. Every day after dinner, he washed the dishes, but he didn't call it a chore. He called it his daily rat killing.
See,
let me get down to my rat killing here. I got to go wash dishes. But he knew every day after we had dinner, lunch, or whatever, he washed dishes once a day. And it's nothing no one assigned him. I mean, my dad was retired first sergeant from the Army, and you're not going to tell him go wash the dishes. It's a task he took on. But that was his goal every day, was to make sure the dishes were washed. And a goal is a positive mindset, and so much of this comes down to your mindset, how you frame things.
Right.
You can take a bad picture and put it in a nice frame. It looks a whole lot better. You take that chore, you put it in the frame of, that's not a chore, that's a goal.
Right.
It looks a whole lot better, because it's something you want to do. You want to achieve that goal, and motivate yourself, because sometimes we're the only one we got pushing us. And
absolutely,
I don't care. Ron and Victoria can be here cheering you on and all that, but you've got to believe in you. You've got to push yourself to get there too. We can say, come on, you can do it, we believe in you, but somewhere in there, you got to believe in you. We'll be there along the way, but when it gets done, guess who gets the credit? You do.
Right. So, definitely have to want it for yourself. You have to want it for yourself, because we cannot, nobody can push it on you. And that's why it's so important to set your own goals versus having people set goals for you. Because if people set goals for you, chances are you're not going to achieve them. But if you set those goals and those are what you want, your chances of success are a lot higher.
And my final point I want to make, besides this, I talked about setbacks, because you still work towards your goals. Like I said, I had a setback getting ready to go get my guide dog. It didn't work out the way I thought it was going to. I was still able to back up, regroup, rechange my priorities, work on me, get myself ready, got my dog, and I was still able to meet my goal to start college that fall, which worked out great then. But sometimes things don't work out because life happens.
Right.
Have a plan B. I was going to be a warden before I retired from the prison system. Well, life happened. And working at a prison is a dangerous place when you can see everything, when you have 20/20 vision, when you have no vision, when you're, are totally blind, it's a whole lot more dangerous. And I had to back up, regroup. I had to figure out my plan B. I had no plan B at that time. And I just want to emphasize, there's a lot of people, young athletes. Things happen all the time. There was a Buffalo Bills player, just 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah,
He,
that fell out on the
uh-huh,
field or something. Yeah, yeah.
he, he had a heart attack. His heart stopped. Um, who knew if he was going to survive?
Hmm.
Thankfully he's recovered well. He's in good shape and all that. But every athlete never knows what's going to happen. Um, you know, when you worked your whole life to get to that goal. I mean, when you're a professional athlete, you've done this all your life. You start out as a kid, you played in the youth leagues, you played in junior high, high school, you played in college. I'm going to use Jalen Hurts as an example. If y'all don't know who Jalen Hurts is, he's the current quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. He was also one of my wife's students at Channelview High School. Um, she knows him as this young kid who was just such a good student, ideal kid anyone would be proud of. And we're fans, we cheer for him, but he's out there every week playing in a game where he could get hurt. His career could end on the next play. If it's by concussion, if it's by a bone break or a spinal cord injury. But when that happens, what's his plan B? Because if you can't do what you worked to do all this time, and he's achieving his goal, right? His goal was to get to play in the pros. Well, he had to reset his goals because he's there now. Now his goal is to win his division, win in the playoffs, win the Super Bowl. He set new goals every time, and that's the other thing is always when you achieve your goal, you have to back up, regroup, and figure out where you go next. But if you don't get to meet your goal, have your backup plan. What's your plan B?
Hmm.
So,
Absolutely.
with this, I'm going to wrap up my part. I've done, I've done the bulk of the presentation at this point, and we're going to turn over to Victoria. But before we do, is there any discussion? I know Laura had put something in the text.
Yeah, and you know what, Laura, I'm going to ask because we have a discussion time coming up that's going to be specifically for what she put in the group, and I'm going to ask her to if we can hold off on that so we can share
Okay.
that and have a discussion on that comment because there is a designated spot exactly for that, and that's exactly what I'll be looking for. So if we can hold off, Laura, if you don't mind, and definitely would love to bring that up and would actually love for you to even speak on it if it's possible. So, okay.
And is there
And,
any discussion or comments at this time? And
okay.
if y'all can't tell, Victoria and I are very passionate about this. This is a subject we believe in. We've worked together. We've taught together. Worked with high school students teaching this. So, we believe in it. And I hope we share ideas to help you think about for yourself. And with that said, I'm passing the talking stick over to Victoria.
All right. Thank you, Ron, so much. And thank you for your thoughts and your ideas. And, I want to, the reason why I think this is a great time for this workshop and to talk about goals and things is,
Yeah.
because of New Year's resolutions, right? What do we always do every New Year? Oh my gosh, I'm going to lose weight. I can't even think of all of the New Year's resolutions that are so broad and so general. And then come, I'm being generous when I say come the end of January, beginning of February, because sometimes they only last a week or so. But usually resolutions disappear, but what if instead of, just giving that general broad New Year's resolution statement that you actually set it up in a goal format? Okay. It's okay if your New Year's resolution is to lose weight. That's great. But let's turn that into a long-term goal and set some small goals that are going to build up to that. So that's one of the things, resolutions are fun. They're nice. They're, good things to just say, but what's better than a resolution is a New Year goal. A New Year goal that you can drop the new year and still benefit from it throughout the year. So really, and it's funny because the actual definition of a goal is kind of the object of a person's ambitions or effort, an aim, a desired result. Okay, so that's really what a goal is. That's what that is. And then also, you know, why are goals important? What is the purpose of a goal? They can actually have a very massive impact on your life. Okay, they have the power to transform your desires of the future into actual reality. Okay, that's just, you can sit there and talk and say, all the things that you want to do, but if you actually set a goal, that vision that you have, you can actually turn that into a reality, into your life. Okay.
And
Um,
and that's
mhm.
exactly why we're doing this now. And I want to add this. Victoria was the one who jumped out here and says, well, everyone sets New Year resolutions, and a resolution is I resolve, I promise, I want to do this. It's a promise, and it's not a goal, but it's a promise. You're setting some direction, but really not getting the goal set. So,
Mhm.
but what Victoria's talking about making a reality out of it, do that by setting your goal. Give yourself something tangible to work towards, and
Right,
amen. You're
right. Yeah.
you're so on track here.
Thank you. And so, I mean, and the ways it can do that, it can turn those, those visions into for a number of reasons. But one of the things that we kind of touched on too, long-term visions, they can be short-term motivations. Okay. The actual goal that's your vision, that is the desire, that's where you want to get to, right? But if you set the goal, that means that you have allocated some thought to your future and you have a basic understanding of the path you're going to take to get there. Okay. And that is what leads us to our short-term motivation. And I don't know about you, for me, when I have little milestones that I achieve throughout, I know I'm still working towards that big goal and that main long-term thing, but these little ones that I'm achieving, they make me feel good. It pushes me, it inspires, it makes me feel like I can actually do this. Well, because it wasn't so hard to get to that one. Guess what? Now I want to try the next one. Okay. I want to try another one. So, but these little short-term goals, they actually will give you an understanding of all of the steps that you need to take to get to that big goal, to that big vision. Okay. So they actually, when you set these goals, it kind of, and for me, and it creates like a sense of urgency, on top of the motivation that I get from just achieving that. It just feels good. I actually have, I want to accomplish that goal because it felt good when I did it. And even if it's only me congratulating myself, I don't need a whole room full of people to applaud for me. No, I can do that for myself. It makes me feel good, and then these goals, they provide focus. When you create a goal, you have focus, because sometimes, and I don't know about y'all, but sometimes my thoughts are all over the place. I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. But when you actually create a goal, it's focus. Now, okay, I know I want to do a whole bunch of things, but now let's set this one goal so that I can focus on this. Okay. And then it just leads you to, continuous improvement, because when you set these goals, you're improving, you continue to improve in this. I'm all about, self-improvement, bettering myself, but also the goals can help you track the progress as well. So, Ron, did you have anything you want to add?
There's so many thoughts that run through my head as you're talking, because I'm nodding in total agreement with what you say. And one thing that kept popping in my mind as you're saying this is focus. We want to keep our focus on what
Mhm.
we're working towards,
Right.
because if you're not paying attention to what you're working on, you can easily stray from your path and not,
Yeah,
you know,
distracted.
you,
Absolutely.
you deviate from the direction you're going, and then you can get lost, and you have to
Yeah,
find your way back. But if you focus on what you're doing and pay attention, you can keep your
right,
focus on your
right,
task.
right. And then, as we mentioned, I said this other goals, they're everywhere. Everyone has goals. Everybody has them, whether they have the goals formally written down and articulate a plan to achieve them goals. We all have some form of desired state for our future, and like you mentioned the doctor's office, those are goals. They're all goals are everywhere. But the problem is, even though everyone does have goals, not everyone achieves them. Okay. So, I mean, there's times when, and you have that doctor's appointment and you have those goals to get up, and you end up not going to that doctor's appointment. So, that's a goal that cannot, so just as easy as there is for us to have goals that we achieve every day, these small goals that we don't even realize are goals, but they are, we have a lot of these that we are not reaching and achieving that are, oh, somebody want to mute their phone? So we have a lot of goals that we're not achieving every day, that we're not even realizing that these are little goals, but these are ones that are not achieving them. And then, we all, because we're different, each one of us are unique in what we do and how we, navigate through our own lives. Some people achieve goals more efficiently than others. You never, you just you can't determine everybody doesn't achieve on the same level. So, yeah,
And
absolutely, Naomi.
and there's something you said earlier about motivation, because we all have to be motivated to reach our goals. And my background in psychology, I am a behaviorist. I believe in behavior. Behavior is motivated by, it's motivated by something.
Right.
To get the desired behavior, you have to find what motivates that. When I was working as a supervisor at the prison, I went to manager training, and one of the things we talked about was motivating your employees, motivating your staff, because everyone's motivated differently. Some people are motivated by money, some motivated by responsibility, some by recognition. So when you set your goals, what's going to motivate you to achieve that goal? When I was taking my statistics and research class in grad school, our professor told us, make sure this is something you really love, the subject you pick for your research, because the work is going to get tiresome. You're going to get, you're going to get where you don't want to do it. You have to keep yourself motivated to reach your goal and get this done. And I can't emphasize that enough. You have to know yourself to know what it takes to motivate you to work towards that goal.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely. So, and just like Ron, with this motivation to achieve your goals, I don't think people don't realize that. I mean, the importance of goals. We went over some reasons why goals are important, right? But I think we fail to realize sometimes, and there is consequences as well for not setting goals. Okay, if you do not have those goals, that there's things that can happen from that. In the moment, it may seem like not setting goals is not a big deal, right? Because we still make progress. But there are still other things that can come when we, formalize our goals. There are benefits from that. So if you take a deeper look at the impact of the lack of goals that are there, you will see exactly how important setting those goals can be in our lives. Okay, so if you look at the relation of having goals versus not having goals, right? And there really can be some consequences, and some examples of that could be, and everybody knows this, you go with the flow, right? Go with the flow, you just go with the flow. You go with the flow, right? That's not okay. So essentially, going with the flow is use it, relate it to a river. Okay. Think of it as the river of life. Okay. The river of life, you get in that river, it's just taking you along to an unknown destination. Okay. You have no control over where that river is taking you. You're just taking a ride. Setting goals is like using a boat in that river. Okay. With the boat, you can change the direction you're going and you can actually control where you're going.
There's that word again, control.
Yeah. Yeah. Control where you're going. And without that boat, because you lack focus. Without that, the metaphor of the boat, without that, you lack focus. You're just kind of swimming all over the place, getting pushed all over. Your motivation can be hard to find because, for one, taking it to the river, you're just swimming around the river. I'm not going to have much motivation because I'm tired. I'm swimming. I'm trying to stay alive. I'm trying not to drown. That can suck the motivation right out of you. It can just drain you of your motivation. And then at the end of the day, you'll be stuck. That's like a concept. Those are consequences. I don't want to be stuck. And at this time, does anybody have any that they want to share, maybe reasons why they think that goals might be important? This is a time if you want to raise your hand, if you want to speak and say, because we want to know goals are important, but if you have any reasons, whether personal or general reasons that you'd like to share, please feel free to do so. Okay. Or even goals, or if you can think of any consequences that there might be out there that you might know of, and again, personal, something that could have happened, because their consequences sounds like such a strong word, right? And it is, because it's a word that is used to define what happens when you don't do what you're supposed to do, but it's also defines what you are supposed to do. So consequence is just a strong word, but I don't want anybody to say, oh my gosh, I'm doomed if I don't set a goal. It's not that you're doomed. It's just that life could be a lot smoother and easier to navigate on Ron's GPS. Is that what you said, Ron? Your GPS that you have, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. If you don't set goals for yourself, someone else will.
Ugh.
And do you want to be floating down someone else's river, or do you want to control which way you go?
You want to be in that boat. Turn around if you can. Yeah. Right. So the thing is, there are methods in which we would get into in a little bit. There's smart ways that we are going to determine and define to set effective goals. Right. Yes, you like that wordplay, right?
I love it.
So, but people don't realize the types of goals, and basically there are 6 different types of goal categories that you could probably, I've been trying to test this, and you guys can do this as we work through them. Every goal that I just even make up for fake and believe fits into one of these categories. So, there's some validity in it, not just because I say so. It's just, I'm just trying to find a goal that does not fit in one of these categories. So then we're going to go over the 6 categories so that you can determine, and it's going to actually help you in evaluating and defining your goals and know what categories are. Because if you have some kind of structure to your goal setting, and please don't think the structure, it's formal, you have to write this, you have to submit it for approval. No, it's just a kind of like a mental structure for you. Okay. So there are 6 categories that we have here. The first one is actually, I'll wait. I was going to ask if anybody wanted to guess some of the categories, but let's go over to them, and then we can fill them.
Tell them the categories, then let them try to guess.
Yeah, that's why I was like, So, all right. So the first category is health and wellness. Okay. So this generally refers to, promoting good health and reducing risk of disease. And it takes takes into account the factors that like physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Okay. So that's the health and wellness. And some examples of that one And I'll give you some examples, and we'll see if anybody has any other ones at the end of the list. But this one's like, we have increasing exercising and activity. Okay, having a diet with more nutrients in it, getting more sleep, incorporating mindfulness and meditation, spending more time outdoors, getting fresh air. Okay, now those are just, just general goals. They're small, but they're just a list of goals that are under that category. So that is health and wellness. Okay, the next one we have is financial goals. Okay, financial goals, they pretty much they're targets for managing your money, basically. They can involve saving, spending, earning, or investing. Okay, or even just getting organized through your budgets and accounting. Because personally, you guys don't know how many times I've said, "Oh, I'm going to make a budget this year. I'm going to follow it." I have a lot of spreadsheets with these financial budgets in there, but I never use them the way that I should. So, but some of these examples of that would be saving money for large purchases. Okay, reducing your debts, paying off your credit cards and all that type of stuff, getting a promotion with the raise. The raise part is what makes that the financial. Starting an emergency fund, investing in stocks. Okay, so those are some of those that are those under that category. The next category we have is business and career goals. Okay, whether you work for a company or own your own business, this business and career goals are, with the mind to improve your performance. Okay, this can be related to sharpening your skills, taking different actions, or just achieving some form of success, whether it be at your job, or in the career that you entrepreneurship or anything like that. But it can even be smaller than that. Some examples are just like, sharpening your networking abilities, interning with a large company to gain some experience, improving your sales number at work. So, this is actually when you, a salesman, attending business conferences, okay, and expos. I know that was, on my list that I wanted to do, is just to attend expos and self-improvement expos and stuff like that as well. Becoming an expert in your field and increasing your marketing efforts. Okay, so then the next one is relationship and family goals. Okay, relationship with others, they actually enrich our lives. Okay, being able to build positive relationships with our family and friends, it just increases our levels of happiness and satisfaction. Our relationships are there for companionship and social support. And people that make it a priority to set these form of goals, this relationship and family, their relationships tend to be more successful. Okay, and it makes it easier for them to maintain strong, healthy connections with others. And some examples of these types of goals, and oh my gosh, I went through and I've seen so many that I failed on, but eating together as a family at least once a week, that can be a goal. Improving communication skills with your partner, checking with your friends on a regular basis, as I am so bad at, scheduling family activities on a monthly basis, practice, because, probably because I don't do this goal. That's what this needs to be one of my goals. Practice active listening with no judgment. Okay, so that was what I was trying to say. So those are some of the goals that you can set that would fall under those categories. Again, there's little goals, but they can make a big difference. So, and then we have got two more here. This one is educational goals. Okay, education is meant to give you the knowledge, skills, and the attributes to help you reach your potential. Okay, with endless amounts of knowledge and learning opportunities, It's strategically deciding what you should learn and how to develop the skills that you want to learn. It can provide a very good foundation for reaching your educational goals. Okay. Some of these goals are build good study habits, attend seminars, complete a degree or certificate, take online courses, ask for constructive feedback on assignments. And so that was, yeah. So that is the categories that fall under your educational goals. Okay. So then the last one is actually personal development goals. Okay. Now, a personal objective to improve your character, skills, and capabilities can really help you become the best you that you can be. Okay, the best version of yourself, which really, at the end of the day, that's the long-term goal. I would see that as you just always want to become and work towards being the best you can be. Okay. So your personal development requires specific goals that are very and that require you to be active, effort, and very committed. Okay, because again, these are your goals. I cannot tell you what personal goals you need to achieve. So these are, this is very important on these ones. And these are, can cover this one, I think can cover a whole lot of topics, but these ones can cover mental, social and emotional and spiritual goals. That's all covered under these personal goals. Okay. Such as, develop a great mindset. And Ron, we'll have to talk about that one later because I'm not sure, I don't even know how you would do that, but but practice gratitude daily, build more positive habits, set and enforce personal boundaries, read on a regular basis. And that, is a good example of those. Okay. So now that we, have those goals, is there any goals that anybody wants to share and, share with the group? And I think that can be found in one of those categories. Bonus points if somebody comes up with a goal and has a goal that does not fit in one of these categories, because I'm really trying to find it. So, but I think that these categories, I think, cover pretty much everything. And I think it was Lauren, was it Lauren, Ron?
Laura.
Laura.
Mulroney.
Okay. Yes. Can you read? Because I know she had put something. If Laura, if you would like to unmute and speak, feel free to do so. But I know she put a goal in the
She had a
chat.
financial goal.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Hers was a financial one.
She wanted extra money for emergencies.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't want to deplete her checking account, so she opened a savings account so she could have that. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
she won't touch that unless she has a true emergency, and we have a raised hand.
awesome. And I just wanted to touch on what Laura said really quick, though, because here's another thing about that goal for Laura. Yes, it's a financial goal, right? But at the end of that, she said she will not touch it unless she has an emergency, right? And so can we mute? Somebody's unmuted. Thank you. So the thing is, when I say not only is she creating her goal, but that has to take some self-discipline, don't you think?
Well, she set the boundaries.
Yes. Did she raise her hand?
Laura,
I think
Laura
she
did raise
raised
her
her
hand. So
Oh, I raised my hand. This is Allison.
yeah,
yeah,
Allison.
Allison, hang on 1 second though, because
Mhm.
we're talking about Laura's actual.
Right.
Yeah.
Give us
She had
1 second,
put this
Allison.
in the chat earlier. Laura, is there something you'd like to add on that? You can unmute. Maybe you can't.
Okay, yeah, I
See?
know, I seen her hand raised, but yeah. But Laura, I just want you to, that's exactly, the type of goal, and I'm all actually going to speak more about that, so hopefully be able to come off the mute and for our next section, especially when we start to talking about our SMART goal setting and things of that nature. Okay.
So, Allison,
Allison, go ahead, Allison. You want to add, do you have a goal that you want to share with us?
Well, a while back, I found my own job.
Mm-hmm.
wow.
Good for
I
you.
did. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
and it's working out real good.
Yeah. So you had a goal to find a job. Did you
I
set a
did.
goal to find? Absolutely.
So,
That's
I
great.
what
did.
category would that go under?
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
business and career.
Absolutely.
Oh, good job. Okay, exactly. Thank you so much, Allison, for sharing. Okay.
Sure.
Do we have anybody else that would like to add? All right. So I'm telling you guys right now.
This is
If-
Ned.
Oh, hi, Ned.
Hi.
Ned.
Hi.
you
Yes,
doing?
under business and financial, one of the things that I did when I was working, we would get reimbursed for our mileage when we used our cars for traveling. And
Mm-hmm.
so I took that reimbursement each month and I put that in a separate fund and I call that my new car fund.
Mm,
And so I was able to pay my because we were reimbursed at the government level.
level, right.
And so therefore you're getting we were getting reimbursed more than what my gas cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to set that money aside. So when it came time to get a new car, I had some resource to fall back on. Whereas
To
other
help you out.
other colleagues
Mhm.
would say, gosh, I've got to get a new car and I have nothing. I have nothing to buy my new car with.
Mhm.
So
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So that would be
Yes.
along with Laura's idea of setting money
Yes.
aside. Yeah.
That goal,
And-
right. That is what now, another thing too, that's another one too, Nat, with that self-discipline. Okay. Because that you knew that money was there, that you're at any time you could have went in there and said, oh, you know what? Well, I need a new pair of pants, or I need some new shoes, or I want dinner. You could have dipped into that money, but that self-discipline that helped you to be able, when you got ready to go purchase that car, you had that extra money. So awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Ron,
and
whose hand do we? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's Naomi, then there's Allison. And Naomi,
Hi there. So
hey,
I'm
Hi
happy to
there.
mention a goal I'm working on, and I guess it would fall under the category of health and wellness. I signed up
Okay.
to do the Dry January campaign, which I've never done before. And I don't want to make it sound like it's a struggle because I'm really just a social drinker, but I've just already had birthday parties where everyone's celebrating with alcoholic
Right.
beverages, and I've had to say
Mhm.
no. And it's
Mhm.
been a little
I didn't know you
challenging,
did
but
minimal
I
going on.
have so far
Mhm.
not like indulged in any alcohol. And that
Right.
actually is connected to another goal because I'm going on
Yeah,
a ski
he's busy.
trip at the end of the year.
Doesn't
And
matter about
so
that. They
I
locked her
think kind of removing the alcohol for a month and then just doing more exercising, I'm spinning twice a week, is helping me get to the goal for skiing. So it's kind of like a
And-
2-in-1.
and
Yeah.
some of the words that we've used are coming out right in that. I mean, there's planning and there's commitment.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think any goal that's worth doing is worth doing right. And to do
Yes,
that,
it
you
is.
plan and you commit.
And
Yes, I
let's
have
not
been.
forget, Naomi, about that self-discipline. You go, girl, because
Oh,
that,
thank
you have that self-discipline because it's so easy to just, especially when you're
So
at those
easy.
birthday parties and, oh, you know what,
Yes.
just go ahead. I'll just drink this one time. That's it,
Right,
So
right. And I have
kudos
a
to
friend that
you.
that happened. She said, "Oh, I was doing it,
Mm.
and then I had a beer." And I thought, yes,
Right.
it really
Yeah.
is that easy to
It-
just break it. And I just keep telling
Yes.
myself, "No, you're going to do
Right.
it. You've accomplished
Self-control.
a day,
Absolutely.
another day, just take it,
Yeah.
as
And
it
then,
comes.
the longer you go though, it'll feel better because
Yeah,
you're
I don't even
like,
think about
oh,
it now.
right. So now you're like, oh my gosh, it's been 4 weeks. It's been 5 weeks. Oh my God, it's been, so
Yes,
the more you do it, the more you will realize that accomplishment that you're achieving it. And it just feels good. So
it does.
good luck to you and
Thank you.
kudos. All
Awesome.
right. Anybody
Right.
else, Ron?
We have Allison, then we have Greg.
Okay. Hi, Allison. Did you have something else you wanted to add? Was that it's the same Allison, right?
Yes,
Yeah, she
I
raised her
do.
Okay.
hand.
Hi there, Allison.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Allison.
Yes.
I
I-
don't have a question. I'm
I
sorry if I
recently-
raised my hand. It was an
I
accident. I'm
recently-
sorry.
Oh,
I had-
okay.
I had to save a whole lot of money for a while, and recently
Mhm.
I bought another treadmill, and this is under financial.
Good job. Okay. Well, that's exactly right too. So you made those you did those savings and you got the end result from that saving that money. So good for
And
you.
that treadmill lets you set
Congratulations.
other goals.
Absolutely. Now you got to set a goal on how many times you're going to get on it. All right.
This
So
is
Greg.
this is Ned.
Hey, Ned, we got a hand
Yeah,
raised
Ned.
here
Yep.
ahead of
Hold
you.
on, Ned. Yeah, you'll be next. You have Greg. Hi, Greg. Welcome.
Hey,
Hey
Greg.
guys, can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
we hear you loud and
All
clear.
right, cool. Hey Ron, hey Victoria, and
Hey there.
Naomi, all Haven.
Right.
So Naomi made me think of a goal. So being here in Arizona in this hot weather, we decided to do a challenge at work where for the entire month of February, you had to do at least 2,800 push-ups, right? And that 2,800 means that we have to do 100 a day for the month of February. And so in the sense of that, I was like, okay, how can I make sure that I keep myself on track and be able to do that? And so one of the things that they offer at work is they offer gym classes. And they actually offer the not only gym classes, but the health. And so in the midst of thinking that, I said, okay, you guys mentioned earlier about, barriers that might come into a goal that might deter it or turn it. But the other thing is that during that time, you might think of other goals that can help you during that time. So I'm thinking of, okay, 2,800 push-ups. Then I was like, okay, well, what goals can I do to assist that? Well, maybe I could eat better, change my sleeping patterns, do different things of that nature. So I just wanted to share that, but good program you guys are doing.
Thank you. So Greg, what is your goal? Which category is that falling into?
It's under health and wellness.
Yeah, I guess the health and wellness, it would be.
And you bring to mind that I would think most health centers, most gyms, they do goal setting on a regular basis with
Absolutely.
with their clients, just because that's what it takes to, if it's for the fitness, if it's for weight loss or whatever their goal is. If it's 2,800 push-ups a month, then I mean you've got a measurable goal. And what if you get sick and you're not able to do the push-ups for 3 days? You've got push-ups to make up. But
well, and one of the things that we did put into play is that if there was a change, how do we stretch it over the rest of the day? So maybe if you miss 2 days, which would be 200 push-ups, instead of trying to do 200 push-ups, you do for the next 4 days, you do 150. So you're still doing your same thing, and you still end up with your 2,800. And, like they told us, this is a goal that we set. That doesn't mean that has to be your end goal. You can go further and do more. It just is our goal that we're aiming for is 2,800.
And two things come from that. Thank you so much, Greg, for that. Two things come, Ron, when you said reaching your goals, like we get there in different ways. So yes, his goal is 2,800, but if 100 a day does not work for him, he might be able to break that down. Like nobody, you map your own goals, which we're going to be getting to in that sense. In a second, is just mapping and how we get there and the goals that we set. Nobody is forcing you to reach them a specific way. You do what works best
Yeah.
for you. Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Greg. Ned, you're there. Did you want to add something?
Yes, the person who mentioned saving money to buy the treadmill reminded me of delayed gratification. And all this goal setting is about, we have to work to get there.
Mhm.
And so it is delayed gratification. And we live today in a world of instant gratification.
Right.
And
Right.
how
Later on. Hold on.
Yeah.
how do we
Yeah.
teach young people? How do we teach kids? How do we
Mama,
teach
what's her name?
delayed gratification? I
Right.
guess is
Yeah.
my question.
And that is true because, and you're right, instant, it goes along with the patience and, people don't want to do things because it takes too long to get that, and the stroke of the ego. Oh, great job. Some people need that right away. And so they skip over a lot of things that are not going to bring them that instant gratification, like you were saying. But delayed gratification, that comes from us. And actually, we're going to touch on that in just a minute, but that comes from our in ourselves, knowing the purpose that we have, the reasons, the whys that we have for these goals that we set. The reason is going to be probably even more important than the goal, so that's going to push you to kind of be patient for that desired or delayed gratification, because you have a purpose. There's a reason behind it. What your purpose is. And, if you even think about those instant gratifications, those instant ones, half the times you don't even know what the benefit is until it's just right there in your face at that moment. But there's no planning or thought process in that. You don't even know why you're doing what you're doing. Just knowing that it's going to be an instant gratification in anything that it is. So yeah, but we are definitely going to talk a little bit more about that. And thank you so much for that, Ned. Do you have something to add, Ron?
I do. And you just on what you said, sometimes we don't know why we're doing what we do. There's sometimes, and our son's 20 years old, and there's sometimes he'll do something else. Say, why are you doing that? And I think there's a good self-check along the way. When you're working towards a goal, ask yourself, why? Are you doing that?
Absolutely.
Because I think this comes back to motivation. Remind yourself why you are doing that. Because sometimes it takes long work, hard work to achieve your goal, and remind yourself why you are doing this. So
right. Yep.
Just
Absolutely.
reinforce that message to yourself.
Yes. So, the thing is too, we have these categories, right? And we have our, all the goals that fit into these categories, but we want to map our goals as well. We're going to map out our goals. But before we go on to mapping out our goals, does anybody have anything else that they would like to add to the discussion? Was there any other hands raised or anything, Ron?
Naomi and Greg's were still raised.
Still, I think, okay.
But
I think we didn't, I don't, yeah, I think we.
I think that's still just raised from earlier.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, the reason why, we're before you can, break down your goals or make your goals or, set your goals, it's important to map out where you see yourself in the future. Okay. And that's going to be across all of the goal categories. Okay. So we can't, even though obviously we cannot focus on every single goal at once, because that defeats the purpose, because you'll be all over the place, right? You'll have too much, when you have a lot of things, you have a little bit of yourself going into each one, it's probably not going to be successful. Okay. But what you should do for the categories is identify which goals are most important to you. Okay. That's what the key. If you, to map out the goals, you take it, and you can do it mentally. I'm always on my computer. I have a small little laptop I carry. I just type up my goals, map them out in my categories. I even use my voice recorder. You guys, I have woken up at 2 a.m. before to turn and record on my phone, because just to make sure I didn't forget it in the morning, just to, when those thoughts come up in the middle of the night. So just, make sure that you write down however you can, write down your goals. And then once you do that, highlight the goals that are going to have the greatest impact on your life. Okay. You're just going to make sure that those goals that you are highlighting, what's going to be the best impact, the most value. Go ahead, Ron.
So you're saying we need to prioritize.
Pretty much, which you and I
Okay.
we've taught on
Yep.
that a lot
Yep.
too. And
And
yes,
so-
absolutely.
But so the big ones, the important ones, that's what we should work for.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Doesn't have to, but it doesn't have to be a big one if it in size, it has to be what is more important to you, what's going to have for example, it can be a small goal, a small goal that you're going to set up your, metro, your paratransit, application so that you can begin traveling independently. That doesn't really require all that much, but it's so relevant to a goal of, saving $10,000 in 6 months.
Right.
So prioritize what goal is going to be more effective. So saving $10,000, yeah, that's a good goal, but what's it for? Is it just to say you save $10,000 versus getting your paratransit set up so that you can travel independently and have a little bit more independence in your day-to-day, moving around the town? What's more important to you? Some people may not think that independent traveling is as important as saving that 10. They might want to sit at home and just save $10,000. That's fine. But whatever you feel is more important, that's what going to do. Okay, so that is hi Chelsea. Chelsea, raise your hand. Go ahead, Chelsea.
Yep.
Chelsea?
Okay. Yeah, I
There
just
you
found
go.
the
Hi.
unmute button. Hi guys. Awesome program so far. You guys, I
Thank
know I'm a big
you.
fan. So
Thank you.
um I wanted to share a book with everybody that is an audiobook as well as in print, that I have used because I am such a nut when it comes to goal planning, goal setting, because that's kind of like really what gets me through my career and my day to day. And this book has really helped me, and I think it might help a lot of you too. It's called The One Thing. And I don't know about you guys, but I've always been a person who wrote lots of lists. And
Mhm.
every day that list would get longer and longer and longer. And I felt so defeated because I never finished my list.
Yeah.
And every day that goes on, I keep adding more to that list. So then I'm just kind of like, oh man, so I just kept feeling like I just wasn't reaching all my goals and doing everything that I needed. And so this book, The One Thing, really focuses on what is the one thing that you can do in your life today that will either make other things in your life easier or irrelevant to do. So, and that question is really the cornerstone of this whole book's, premise. And so, because of and it does like all kinds of case studies and shows all kind of research, which again, I'm a statistical nut. I love, give me an example. Don't just talk about it. Give me an example of why this works. What is the scientific proof of why it works? And so, when they've done studies on corporate businesses and stuff with teams where they've given a goal, like multiple goals, let's say a sales team where they'll say, okay, do three or four or 10 goals. This is what our goals are for this year. But when you distill all of it down to its essential in how to, let's just say, for an example, one that, I hold, very important to me is, let's just say, losing weight, right? My goal might be losing weight. There's things you could do. You could, meal plan, you can exercise and do all like 10,000 different types of exercises out there or whatever. But then as I've been doing my research and um, I can do one exercise in 10 minutes once a day, or once a week, let's just say, and that one exercise will really ultimately help me lose the amount of weight that I want and the type of goal that I want. Whereas you could walk and you could do all these other goals to lose weight, but it's not going to be as effective. So what is the one goal that will make it other things either easier for you, your goal to be reached easier, or other things to be irrelevant, where you don't even have to do it because this one goal, this one thing that you've done really helps you achieve all of it, if that makes any sense.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you
And
for sharing that, because that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so then I'll just take it one step further, is to encourage everybody to, instead of like creating these long lists like I tend to do or have tended to do, I'll sit there and I'll think, okay, well, a lot of thought has to be really put into this, because it's kind of like, okay, well, if my goal is to save money, there's lots of thousand different ways to save money. But the number one quickest way to save money is to stop spending money.
Yeah.
So, and it's one of the
Easier
easiest.
said than done, right? But,
Right.
but it's easy to do, but so hard to do.
Exactly.
Chelsea,
But
do you know who wrote the book? Is that by
oh
Gary
yes,
Keller?
actually, I would love to share it with you guys in the chat.
Yeah, if you can do that, that would be awesome, because I think
that's where I was going with that. But,
right.
Is
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
So there you go.
Is
That's
it
all
Gary
Thank you so
Keller?
much. Thank you, Chelsea, for that. And
You're welcome.
yeah, I think she's gonna look it up, Ron.
Yeah.
I'm
gonna look it up.
I don't think she knows it offhand.
Actually I do. I actually, the person who wrote this book, it's called The One Thing, and it was written by Timothy Miller. Oh no, I'm so sorry. Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. But again,
that's what you said,
it's an
Ron.
audiobook. You can buy it on Audible. You can probably go look at it at your library and
Might
check
be
it
on
out as
Bard
well.
too. We'll check it on Bard just to see. Yeah.
They also have their own website, theonething.com.
Oh yeah, so there's all kinds of like spreadsheets and all kinds of like worksheets that you can kind of follow. But you could use the one thing in every aspect of your life, whether whatever it is. So anyway, I'm gonna shut up now.
Yep. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for your input.
welcome.
I appreciate it. So thank you. All right. So so thank you for that, because that's and it sucks for me, and I already have one of my members at BPN, and I think I've seen him. He had suggested another. I'm just not one of those that do the self-help books. So actually, that's going to be one of my goals, is to read those self-help books, and I had a good one that I was going to read too, and I wish I remembered it. But anyway, so what we're going to do now, we're going to go on, and we just have 2 more sections that I wanted to cover so that we can just get the maximum benefit. And I think and if we can mute our phones, I'm not sure if you guys can hear me. I just hear it loud in the background. Okay, so let's talk about these goals, okay? Because one of the things that we need to do when we're thinking of these goals and they come ideas, is we need to create a goal statement, okay? Goal statements are fundamental for successfully achieving our goals, because the statement defines the results that you are seeking. It describes the purpose. Okay, sorry, that hurt my ear. The outcome and the activity that must be accomplished, and then to achieve that goal. Okay, there's statements. There are strong statements that, you know, we can do for goals, and that's what our goal is to write strong goal statements. And there are vague statements, there are just statements, but we want to, you know, directly create a statement that is going to be the most effective. Okay. One of the ways that we can do this is by using the SMART goal method. I'm not sure, I mean, it's pretty common. I'm not sure if you have heard of the SMART goal method, but it is a method that we use. And if you use the method, your goal will be a very effective goal statement, and it will have the most chances and the possibilities for success. Okay. But I just wanted to give you some of the examples of a goal statement. These are not necessarily using any method. These are just what a goal statement could be. Okay. And well, I said 6 months earlier, but this one says, I will save $10,000 in 1 year. I will be more active in the BVI community this year. I will complete 1 vocal lesson this year. I will read 2 books this month. Okay, those are just examples of what, you know, goal statements are and what they are. But now that you have the actual goal statements, okay, how do we make it into that effective goal statement, that SMART goal statement? Okay, that's, you know, well-written goal statements, they're just the key to creating that foundation. So we want to make sure that we, you know, can have the best method to do so. And I have found, and I've been doing this for many years, the SMART goal method has been around for quite some time. Okay. I have used it. I stopped using it. I use it again. And when I say I use it with my clients and setting goals and assisting them to set goals. And then something else will come out like, oh, okay, well, there's a new way. But I will tell you right now, I always end up reverting back to the SMART goal because I have found it to be the most successful. So what I'm going to do is we're going to define the SMART goal method. Okay. So the SMART goal it's SMART, all capital letters, because every one of those letters stands for something relevant to the SMART goal. Okay. So we have S. Okay. Does anybody know or want to take a guess on what the S is? All right, specific. It is specific. Okay, so identifying specific outcomes. Okay, being able to identify that and making the result very clear in your goal. Okay, this allows you to focus on that specific action. Okay, and it will also help you to achieve the result you want. The M, and Ron talked on this earlier, and we were speaking about measurable. Okay, a SMART goal, an effective goal, is going to be measurable. Okay, that's an effective goal statement. It's going to incorporate a measurable component. That allows you to track the progress and identify exactly what you need and what you need to achieve that goal. And it's funny because I think we brought this up earlier, but an example of that is I will read 4 books this month. Okay, that allows you to measure that goal. So when you're at 2, you read 2 books, guess what? Well, I'm halfway there. I only got 2 more to go. So measurable. Okay. The A is actually achievable. Okay. Your goal should be challenging, but yet achievable. Okay. Your goals are all going to require time, effort, and attention from you. However, it should not be too challenging to the point where you become discouraged with the apparent impossibility of that goal. Okay, so we want to make sure it's attainable, and I'll give you an example, of an achievable goal. I want to fly, I want to fly to Florida just using, wings that I made on, with my mom's sewing machine. Okay. That is not an achievable goal. Okay. That's just, there's no way you can do that. I mean, if you can, I don't know if that's, but achievable means, that it's a possibility. Even for us, let's take it to our BVI level. I am totally blind. Okay. I cannot and should not have a goal that says I want to be a truck driver for my career. Okay. That's just not, I'm all about blind power, and we can do, everything everybody else can do, but there are some things we cannot do. And driving a truck as a career is one of those things. Okay. So achievable. The R in the goal, in the SMART is realistic. Okay, it's realistic. I guess that would be the flying across to Florida with your mom's wet feathers on her back. So that's not realistic. That's not achievable or realistic. But they should be realistic according to your capabilities. Okay, the resources that you have available and the time that you have. Okay, that's what you need to make sure they're realistic. Okay, you have to have the time, even taping it smaller. Oh, I'm going to do anything every day. Do you have the time? Thinking about that. I'm going to, even let's use, what Greg was saying about the 100. I'm going to do 100, push-ups at 4 o'clock every day. Okay. Are you really going to be able to do that? Or are you at work in your office at 4 o'clock every day? So that you can't, you have to be realistic with your time and the things that your resources are available to you and those things of that nature. Okay. The last one is T for time-based. Okay. You have to identify a specific time frame for that you plan to achieve your goal. Okay, this deadline creates a sense of urgency in order to inspire action. Now, that's what, I told my daughter the other day that I was going to light a flame of fire under her butt. And she was like, what the heck does that, what are you talking about? But I was like, I'm going to put some fire, but that is what it is. I need, because now I'm racing against the time. I need to put the flame under there so I can hurry up and do stuff. So you want to make sure everything, all of your goals are, and that's what I was telling you guys earlier when with my goal of being an independent woman. Okay. I had no time frame on there. I just said one day I want to. And I think for 12 years, I was always saying that, but I still was not completely independent. And without that time base, you could be sitting there trying to achieve that goal for a very long time. Okay. One of the things in addition, and this is not actually part of the SMART goal, this is just a phrase, and Ron can touch on this, is we both feel very strongly about this as well, and we spoke on it earlier, is the why. In addition to having this effective SMART goal outline and the objective and the SMART goal statement, what will push you even more is knowing that why, the purpose. Identify the purpose for your goals. And a lot of times we need to make sure that you are doing these goals for the right reasons. Okay. The purpose of your goal is not for the right reasons, it's probably not going to be successful. Okay. So why are you doing this? Anytime you have doubts, anytime you want to quit, you find, what is the purpose? Why am I doing this? You may find that, your purpose may not be as important as the actual goal, but a lot of times, most of the times, the reasons we're doing and we're setting these goals is more powerful and has more of an impact than the actual goal. Ron, did you want to add to that one?
Well, I volunteered at a youth camp, a week-long drug-free youth camp. And one of the things that the leadership talked to us about was, remember, because you're going to put in some long hours and your dedication is going to get challenged. Your commitment is going to get challenged. And that's why you have to come back here and remind yourself why you're doing this. And, you know, let me, we're running tight on time. I won't get into the story behind it, but
Yeah.
there was a story they'd shared, but when at the end of the day, remember, when you look back, after you accomplish your goal, you'll be reminded of what it's all about. So put yourself at the end, visualize yourself at the end, achieving that goal, and remember why you want to do this in the first place, why you began this commitment, because that's what it takes, is commitment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And unfortunately, we are running short on time. You know, so I would love to, you know, for you all to evaluate and look at your goals and your categories and turn them into a SMART goal using the SMART method. Remember, it is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. Those are the key elements to making that SMART goal and making your goal statements effective. What I wanted to do now, since we went, and then we can close this out, and you can, I don't know if you want to open it to questions. I know we are running a little bit late, but those that want to stay after, you know, I will stay here as well. But I just want to go, you know, recap, you know, what the things that I've gone over. Okay. So goals are important to make your visions of your future into reality. Okay. Goals provide long-term vision and short-term motivation. Goals allow focus and allow you to track your process. Okay, we have the 6 categories of the different goals. We have health and wellness, financial, education, relationships and family, business and career, personal development. Okay, so those are just the 6 ones. So why behind your goal is key to perseverance. Okay, so don't forget that one. And then the strong goal statements should follow the SMART goal method in order to reach full, you know, maximize your chance for success. And again, just going over, we just did the SMART measures. And I think, Ron, that will cover the recap of what we just discussed. And, you know, if we have time, we can open it up, but I know we have door prizes that we need to give away. And if we wanted to go that route. And again, if anybody would like to and have conversation after the end of the workshop, I will be here in the room, and I'm more than happy to speak to anybody that would like to, what do we call it? Socialize after the workshop. So,
Yeah.
Ron?
I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for your interest. And I hope we've shared something to help you in your personal goal setting. Because, you know, the new year, like Victoria said, everyone starts with resolutions. Resolutions are promises that you resolve to do something. Turn that into a goal statement. You know, set yourself up for success, and you know, work towards these goals. And Randa has raised her hand. So Randa, you have something?
Yes, I may have missed a little. I had to walk out for a minute, but what I found, because my life got turned upside down, and I'm a list maker too. And I found I would mark off 2 things and I'd add 6. So also one thing that is, I'm sorry.
Go. She was just agreeing with you there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
okay.
ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
One thing I found is people would say, take baby steps, just make a small goal. If you can get that one thing each day. But I go back and look and say, well, I should have done these 10 things already. So sometimes you get overwhelmed if you make too many goals, if things change in your life. And then I have one question, and it has nothing to do with that, but I've always wondered, I'm kind of in between. I have a little bit of vision, but not enough to, to do that much. If you're climbing a mountain and you can't see down what all is scary, and I'm just wondering this, I mean, seriously, I'm wondering, is it easier when you can't see what is so scary? Or is it, harder when you can see what's down there? And I've never been able to do it, but I do know when I did mobility training and they put a blindfold around me and I was going across streets and I thought, I don't know how people do it without any vision because my heart was in my throat. But I'm just wondering, because if you don't see the scary things around you, you don't know they're there. Do you worry about them more or less? And I'm just curious, maybe that's just a philosophical question.
Well, no,
Just
Ron,
wondering.
that's a good one though, because I'm going to tell you one of my experiences, and it was bungee jumping. Okay. So my thought was, well, I can bungee jump. I can't see what's be down there anyways. It's no problem. So I was fine all the way, and they're pulling me up, and I was going, I think 150 feet up, and I'm going up. When I got up there, I'm telling you, I'm blind, but I'm not stupid. I know that I'm 150, and I was so nervous. My stomach, my butterflies, now I couldn't see anything. If depending on my vision, I could have been standing on the ground, but knowing the fact that I was up so high and knowing that there's 100 feet below me and I could fall, my sight, my vision had nothing to do with it. It was my mind that was really the challenge with that. So I think we all still, we still know we're on top of a mountain. We still know so I think the fear is still going to be there, just that fear.
We still have to
That was
confront it.
interesting. Yeah.
I was going to say one other thing. For example, if you're out in the forest and there could be a bear looking at you and you couldn't see it, that's the thing. But my thought, people say, I always used to tell my husband, he used to be scared of snakes. I'd say, well, by the time I see the snake, it's already bitten me. So I'm not, and I really am not worried about that. So some of it's mind over matter, but I didn't know which way it would go.
Right. The fear. Yeah, that's so true. You're right about that too. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Sorry, that's one. Certainly not.
Okay, and Greg, you raised your hand as well.
I did, because I like that
Okay.
discussion there. And I
Mhm.
think on both ends, it depends on what the situation is. Because sometimes if you can't see it, it doesn't stop you. However, sometimes with not knowing what's out there can be the fear itself and stopping you. So I think it's kind of depending on what the situation is and what is being put before you. Because I love bungee jumping and I love skydiving. But like Victoria said, once you get up there, you're at that point of doing this, it's like, wait a minute, it's nothing but open air out there, and it's like, wait, what could happen, or even going and tour the Grand Canyon, like standing on the edge, it's like, hey, if I fall this way, how far down do I have to go, where sometimes seeing that drop is like, man, I don't know if I can actually do it, and you don't even try to get out on the cliff. So I think it depends on, one, the mentality and the mindset in which you're going with, but also on what is the goal that you're trying to achieve. Maybe your seeing stops you from achieving that goal, or maybe your not seeing also stops you from achieving that goal. So I think it's kind of a good topic.
And evaluate your goal, evaluate your fears, and don't be afraid to confront your fears. I think that has to be a key part. And we are really tight on time. It's 1 p.m. Chris, you weren't here when we announced at the beginning, but Christopher Schiaffoni, thank you for positive persistence, for donating the life coaching. We have door prize to give away. And aside from the HAVIN folks that are here today, we have 15 people Victoria, can you give me a random number between 1 and 15?
I sure will.
And Chris,
Uh,
I'm taking into mind what you said.
Okay, you said 1 and 15, Ron?
Uh-huh.
All righty. Alexa, give me a number between 1 and 15. Here's a number between 1 and 15. It's 10. 10. 10. Who's number 10? Who's number 10?
So, Lisa Hickson, number
Woo,
10. Lisa, are you still here?
Congratulations.
So, Lisa, congratulations. You are our winner. Chris, is there a problem with this? Chris Schiaffoni, can you unmute? I just want to make sure there's no conflict here.
Sorry, man, I was halfway across the panel and had to find the unmute button.
All right. So no problem. Lisa Hickson.
I don't believe.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Lisa, this is Chris Schiaffoni, and he is the life coach who is offering the prize.
Thank you. I had some trouble unmuting. What did I win?
It's okay. Congratulations.
Congratulations. You've won a $25 gift card as well as
Thank you.
And that's from Haven and from Positive Persistence Coaching and Research. Is that correct, Chris?
Correct.
What I missed. All right. You're being given, you've also won 4 sessions of coaching from Chris here. So, and I will connect you two and also get with you on your gift card. So thank you all for being here
Thank
today.
you. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
So Lisa, where are you at?
Yes, where are you
I'm,
from?
I'm in the Caribbean. I'm from Antigua.
Yay,
Oh, wow. Awesome.
welcome. Thank you for joining us internationally again.
Yeah.
So this is awesome. Good international outreach here. So thank you all for being here today.
Thank you all so much for coming.
Thanks, Haven, for
Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
hosting.
being here.
Thank you. You're welcome.
We appreciate y'all, and we will get this posted on YouTube. And so if you ever want to go back, it's there for you. All right. And we will look forward to seeing you in the future and mark your calendar April 22nd Inside Expo.
There you go. Bye,
I'll throw that out here.
everybody.
All right.
Bye. Victoria, can I ask you a question, or are you gone?
No, I'm here. I'm just trying